Picture this. You walk into a room. Maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's a family dinner, maybe it's just a group chat that goes quiet the moment you join. And you can feel it before anyone says anything. The energy has already shifted. People are looking at each other instead of at you. Someone who used to greet you warmly is suddenly very interested in their phone. And the people who were never really on your side, they look almost relaxed, like they've been waiting for this. Nothing has been said out loud yet, but the verdict is already in. Most people, when they feel that, do one of two things. They fight, they get loud, defensive, they try to argue their way back into the room's good graces, or they fold. They shrink themselves down to a size the room finds more comfortable, hoping the tension will go away if they just stop taking up so much space. The Stoics had a third option, and it's the one that actually works. This video is about that third option, not how to win the room, how to stop needing it. We're going through 3 men who understood this problem from the inside, not as a philosophical exercise, but as something they lived through. Betrayal, exile, condemnation, the most powerful people in the world turning against them. And what they built, in the middle of all that pressure, was something most people spend their whole lives looking for, a kind of calm that couldn't be taken away. Let's get into it. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, emperor of Rome, commander of the largest military force on earth, by any external measure, untouchable. And then, in 175 AD, while he was away fighting wars on the northern frontier, exhausted, possibly sick, possibly believed to be dying, one of his most trusted generals declared himself the new emperor. His name was Avidius Cassius, and Marcus had trusted him, promoted him, relied on him. Think about what that feels like. Not the political version of it, the human version. Someone you believed in, someone you gave power to, someone you considered loyal, looking at your situation and deciding this is their moment. It's not just a military problem. It's the most human kind of pain there is. And here's what Marcus Aurelius did while the rebellion was unfolding. He kept writing in his journal, the same private journal we now call the Meditations. And what he wrote wasn't about strategy or revenge or how to win. He wrote about expectations. He reminded himself, over and over, that people act according to their own nature, that someone who is driven by fear and ambition will eventually act out of fear and ambition, that this isn't a surprise, that being shocked by human behavior is like being angry at a fig tree for growing figs. He wasn't dismissing the pain. He was doing something more useful, removing the part of the pain that comes from surprise. Because here's the thing most people don't realize about betrayal. The actual event, whatever happened, usually passes faster than you think. What lingers, sometimes for years, is the shock of it, the feeling that it shouldn't have happened, that they should have been better, that the world broke a rule it was supposed to follow. The Stoics understood that the world doesn't follow rules you wrote in your head. People do what their nature leads them to do. And once you genuinely accept that, not as a cynical thing, but as a realistic thing, betrayal becomes painful without becoming catastrophic. When the rebellion collapsed and Cassius was killed by his own soldiers, Marcus reportedly grieved. He had wanted the chance to forgive the man in person. He protected the families connected to the rebellion from punishment. That's what Stoic calm actually produces. Not coldness, not revenge. The ability to stay human even when the people around you stop being human first. Now let's go to someone with zero external power. None at all. Epictetus was born a slave. His name literally means acquired, a word used for property. He was owned. He had no rights. He could be punished at his master's will. And yet Epictetus became one of the most influential philosophers in human history. Not because his circumstances changed. For years, they didn't. But because he figured out something that wealthy, powerful, free people around him had completely missed. He built what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. And it's the single most useful mental tool for when the world is against you. Here it is, as simply as I can say it. Some things are within your power. Your thoughts, your choices, your effort, your character, how you respond to what happens. Some things are not within your power. What other people think of you, what they say about you, how they vote in the meeting, whether they text back, what the outcome of a situation ends up being. Most human suffering, Epictetus said, comes from confusing these two categories, from spending your energy on things you were never going to control, and then feeling helpless when they don't go your way. When you try to control the room, how everyone feels about you, what they decide, whether they agree with you, you hand your peace of mind to something you can never actually manage. And then your emotional state is entirely dependent on external things doing exactly what you need them to do, which, as we all know, they often don't. The moment you clearly separate what is yours to manage from what isn't, something shifts. Not the situation, your relationship to the situation. The panic loosens, not because things are better, but because you've stopped fighting a battle you were never equipped to win. There is a famous story about Epictetus. His master grabbed his leg and began twisting it. Epictetus looked at him calmly and said, "You're going to break it." When it broke, he said simply, "Didn't I tell you that you would break it?" Whether that story is literally true or not, it describes something real about the man. He had found a place inside himself that his master couldn't reach, a place that no physical force could touch. That place is available to you too, not as a personality trait, as a practice. Seneca's life reads like a stress test for Stoic philosophy. He was exiled to Corsica for 8 years on accusations that historians still debate. He was recalled, became the closest advisor to a young emperor named Nero, helped guide Rome through some of its better years, and then watched as that same student transformed into one of the most dangerous men who had ever held power. Eventually, accused of conspiracy, Seneca was ordered to end his own life. He did it calmly. People who were present said he spent his final moments comforting the people around him, not the other way around. This is someone who had the most powerful person in his world turn against him, not once, but repeatedly across decades. And what he left us is one of the most useful images in Stoic philosophy. He compared the wise person to a rock standing in the surf. Waves crash against it, spray flies. The sound is enormous, the water is powerful, and the rock does not move. But here's the part that matters most. The rock isn't pretending the waves aren't there. The rock isn't suppressing anything. The waves are completely real and completely powerful. The rock just has a quality the waves don't have: density, settledness. The waves exhaust themselves against the rock. The rock doesn't exhaust itself resisting the waves. That's the entire Stoic theory of staying steady when everyone is against you, in one image. You're not trying to stop the waves. People will talk. People will judge. People will sometimes, in certain seasons of your life, actively work against you. Sometimes for reasons that make sense. Sometimes for reasons that have almost nothing to do with you. Your job is not to silence them. Your job is to become the kind of person they can't move. Seneca also wrote something that I think about constantly. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about how many hours you've spent replaying a conversation that might happen, imagining the worst version of what people are saying about you, rehearsing confrontations at 2 a.m. that never actually occur in that form. That mental theater does far more damage than the actual events. Most people collapse under social pressure before anything real has even happened. They drown in a flood that exists entirely in their own head. Before we get to the practical tools, let's talk about why this is so hard. Because understanding the mechanism is half of the solution. For most of human history, tens of thousands of years, being rejected by your social group wasn't uncomfortable. It was genuinely life-threatening. If the people around you turned against you, you lost protection, you lost food, you lost shelter. Being exiled from the tribe meant being left alone in an environment that would kill you. Your nervous system evolved to treat social exclusion as a survival emergency, not metaphorically, literally. This is why your hands shake before a difficult conversation. Why your chest tightens when you see your name mentioned in a group chat you weren't part of. Why one critical comment can ruin an entire day full of good things. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, knows perfectly well that a coworker's cold shoulder cannot kill you. But your amygdala, the ancient alarm system, doesn't know the difference between everyone in this meeting disagrees with me and the tribe has exiled me into the wilderness to die. It fires the same alarm either way. This isn't weakness. It's 80,000 years of evolution running in a world that no longer matches the threat it was designed for. The Stoics didn't have neuroscience, but they had something almost as good. Brutal, honest observation of how the mind distorts reality under threat. And their solution wasn't to suppress the alarm. It was to retrain what the alarm was allowed to fire for. Here's a question worth sitting with honestly right now. How much of your suffering this past year came from actual events, and how much came from your interpretation of events? From the story you told about what was happening? For most of us, the interpretation does almost all of the damage. All right, here's where we get practical. 5 tools drawn directly from these 3 men's lives and writing that you can use the next time you feel a room turning against you. Tool 1, the view from above. Marcus Aurelius used to mentally lift himself out of the situation, imagining he was looking down at the argument, the betrayal, the hostile room from a great height. From up there, the people who felt enormous and threatening become small. The conflict that felt like the center of the universe becomes one tiny disagreement in one room on one small planet between people who will one day be forgotten, just like everyone else. This isn't about dismissing real pain, it's about restoring proportion, because panic always exaggerates scale. Tool 2, premeditation. Before a difficult meeting or conversation, the Stoics would imagine the worst realistic version of what could happen. Not to be pessimistic, to remove the power of surprise. If you've already imagined the worst, and you've already decided how you'd respond with dignity even then, the actual meeting, however hostile, will feel smaller than what you rehearsed. Surprise is what breaks people. Preparation is what holds them together. Tool 3, the inner citadel. Picture a fortress at the center of you. Your judgment, your character, your choice of how to respond. Enemies can surround the walls. They can shout at the gates, but they cannot get inside unless you hand them the key. The key is your consent to be disturbed. Nobody can make you furious, ashamed, or panicked without your mind's cooperation. That cooperation is the one thing you have complete control over in every room, on every day, for the rest of your life. Tool 4, separate the sting from the story. When someone attacks or criticizes you, 2 things are happening at once. The actual event, which is usually brief and passes quickly, and the story you immediately start building on top of it. This means I'm a failure. This means they all hate me. This means my reputation is destroyed forever. The Stoics were clear. Almost all suffering lives in the story, not the sting. The sting lasts seconds. The story can last years, if you let it. Practice noticing the exact moment the story starts. Then ask yourself, is this the actual event, or is this the narrative I've built on top of it? Tool 5, amor fati. Love what happens. This is the most advanced tool and the most powerful. Instead of just tolerating opposition, the Stoics trained themselves to treat it as fuel. Every person who underestimates you, every unfair criticism, every cold shoulder, every room that decided against you before you walked in, these become material, raw material for building the exact kind of calm and strength you're trying to develop. You don't need the world to stop testing you. You need to start seeing the test as the training ground instead of the punishment. Here's something the Stoics understood that most people today still miss. The reason opposition feels so unbearable isn't really about the opposition itself. It's about how much of your identity you've given to other people to hold. If your sense of worth is built on everyone agreeing with you, on the room liking you, the group accepting you, the people around you validating your choices, then the moment that consensus breaks, your whole sense of self goes into free fall. You're not just facing disagreement, you're facing the collapse of the foundation you built your self-image on. But if your worth is built on something internal, your own judgment of your character, your effort, your integrity measured against your own standard, rather than the room's mood, then opposition becomes uncomfortable, but not existential. People can disagree with you all day, They cannot evict you from a house they never built for you. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your anxiety about being disliked is actually about losing something real, and how much is about losing an identity that was built on other people's approval? That question, sat with honestly, does more to diffuse the panic than any clever comeback ever could. Let's bring this down from emperors and philosophers to something most of us will actually live. Imagine someone, it could be anyone, it could be you, who makes a decision that the people around them disagree with. Maybe they leave a stable job for something uncertain. Maybe they end a relationship their family thought they should stay in. Maybe they simply say something true in a room that wanted comfortable silence instead. And the people around them go quiet in that particular way that says more than shouting ever could. The group chat slows down, family members exchange looks, friends who said nothing directly somehow make their disapproval the loudest thing in every room. Path 1. They spend the next year of their life trying to win the room back, explaining, defending, slowly shrinking themselves back down to a size the people around them find more comfortable. Abandoning the decision, not because they stopped believing in it, but because the silence became unbearable. Path 2. They do something almost nobody around them expects. They stop needing the room to agree. Not louder, not angrier, not performing a confidence they don't feel. Just steady, consistent, unchanged by the pressure in the way Seneca's rock is unchanged by the waves. They let the waves crash, and they let time do what time always does, reveal whether the decision was sound. A year later, something quiet happens. The people who doubted them don't always apologize, but they stop talking, and eventually, some of them come back. Not because they were convinced by arguments, but because calm outlasted certainty. That is the actual reward of Stoic resilience. Not winning the argument in the room, outlasting the room. You don't need everyone to come around. You need to still be standing, unchanged, when the noise finally settles. It always settles. It always has. Let's bring it back to where we started. The moment you walk into a room that has already decided against you. Marcus Aurelius taught us that betrayal is predictable, not personal in the way panic makes it feel. That even in betrayal, you can choose to remain human. Epictetus taught us that the moment you stop trying to control things that were never yours to control, you take back the only thing that was always completely yours. Seneca taught us to become the rock, not the wave, to let the noise exhaust itself against your stillness, instead of exhausting yourself trying to silence the noise. None of this makes opposition painless. The Stoics weren't statues. They grieved. They felt fear. They understood loss. What they refused to do was let that pain make their decisions. The next time you feel the room turning, remember, you don't need the room. You need the fortress inside you that the room can never enter unless you open the gate yourself. Stay steady, even when nothing else is.